Hello everyone, this is DM David from the Newbie Sessions Discord, and lately we've been having a few questions about how to get your first one-shot created and uploaded into Astral. A lot of questions from new DMs coming out of some of the newbie DM training sessions, and that's all great. So I just wanted to help those folks navigate Astral for the first time by doing a quick tutorial of how I tend to use Astral. Now, I as a DM, I run several games in a week. I have a couple of long-term campaigns and several one-shots that I'll run on and off basis. And so I tend to use Astral in a very simplistic way. Astral is a very powerful tool, and you're welcome to explore more features. But watching how I do things and following this tutorial should show you how to use Astral in a very minimalist way. That should save you a lot of time, but I'd still invite you to go and look into some of their more in-depth features, because that can really enrich a game if you're willing to put in that kind of investment. So for this tutorial, I'm going to use a pre-written, tried and true adventure from DM's Guild. I've run this one several times. It is very newbie friendly, and I've recommended it to a lot of new DMs as well. It is called A Most Potent Brew by Richard Jansen Parks and Winghorn Press. You can find it by going to the dmsguild.com website. It is a pay what you like adventure, and what you get once you download it are these 4 PDFs, and frankly they're just different formats of the same thing. So we're just going to, there's kind of a gross looking picture of a spider monster here, forewarning. Not a lot of forewarning, but this is what you get. It's this 4-page fairly well written PDF with the whole story and the plot hook and the setup and maps, and there's a trap sort of puzzle that we're going to be running as part of this dungeon. This is a very simplistic dungeon crawl. Lastly, there is a customized stat block for what they call the B-bag, or the big bad monster at the end. So it's a fairly straightforward thing to set up. 4 pages is really not too bad, particularly when there's so much of it taken up by pictures. And this one's really good for a starter DM. So I've already put this into Astral once before. I'm going to be redoing that from scratch and bringing you all along with me so you can see my process of ingesting something like this into Astral, setting up the maps, setting up the tokens. So I have created a folder on my desktop with these 4 PDFs. And one of the things I like to do from the beginning is to set up a few more folders here, because we're going to be pulling out a few more pictures as assets that are going to be going into Astral. So the first thing is going to be tokens. So we're going to need, pictures for our tokens for our monsters. The next one is going to be stat blocks. Because I am adverse to data entry tasks, I tend to screen capture stat blocks and just upload them. So we'll have a folder for those. And lastly, maps. And in this case, there's only going to be 1 map. And then also in this case, I guess we also have a handout. And we'll get to that later on. Not all dungeons have handouts, not all one-shots have handouts, but this one does because of that puzzle trap that we mentioned earlier. All right, so for tokens, if you read through this PDF, you know that you need a number of giant rats for this first room. So I'm looking at this tiny little map down here. So room number 1, our party comes down the stairs and they have themselves a battle with some giant rats that have infested this storeroom of ale. After that, they go through a hole in the wall where the wall has collapsed, and through this wall, they discover that there is a kind of a abandoned wizard's laboratory back here. And so it suddenly goes from the original architecture of all this happens in a beer cellar. It goes from the architecture of the beer cellar down to this more refined but much more old and ruined sort of underground wizard's alchemy lab. So we come to this long hallway to the left. It's a dead end where the roof is collapsed and there's no way to get through. And to the right, eventually the floor turns into this tiled mosaic, which is in fact both a trap and a puzzle to get through. Once they get past that, there's more hallway. There are 2 doors. Room number 3 is a room with a well in the floor, along with sort of a kitchen area. And in this room, they'll be fighting some giant giant centipedes that have taken up residence inside the well. This whole room is largely just an optional room, but because all it is fighting and more loot. But it's nice to have, because when doing a one-shot, you can, if they take forever killing the rats, then you can say, well, maybe I'm going to just make it so that this door doesn't exist. And I can show you how to do that in Astral real easily. But we'll need some giant centipedes for that room. In room 4, we have the bee-bag fight, the climax, the boss battle. And there, in this room, there is a giant infernal spider, and we'll be using this stat block that's provided on the last page of the PDF for that. So we're going to need sort of a fiery looking spider token for that one. And then in this 5th room, we encounter some normal sized everyday rat that's like licking up some like broken potion. So we will want a simple rat token for that. Or we might just not do that and just, theater of the mind. It depends on how much work you want to put into this. So for starters, we're going to need to fill this tokens folder with some JPEGs that are intended to be tokens. They don't need to be very big, kind of little avatar pics. And to do that, I just literally go to Google 5e giant rat images and pick one of these. So, maybe we'll go with this guy here. And one of the tools that I use, I don't know how it works on Mac, but for Windows, I encourage you to hit the Windows key, type in Snipping Tool, and this is standard on all your Windows boxes lately. Stick this on your taskbar, because we're going to be using this quite a bit. So I just, I pin this to start or whatever. I have it down here. This is basically a shortcut for doing a screen capture, snip. There's my rat. And save him into my, desktop. Most potent brew tokens. There we go. Giant rat. And we're good to go. We'll upload that guy as a token. And we'll be covered for our giant rat. Do the same thing for giant centipede. Here's a decent one. Again, snipping tool, new, drag. I'm not going to be too picky about how he looks. Save. Giant centipede. And on and on and on. For the giant spider, I think we have a picture included in here. There. We'll grab this one from the PDF directly. Zoom out a bit. Snipping tool, new. Try and keep it squarish because it is going to go on a token. Save. Infernal spider. And you get the idea. That should cover us for our tokens for this room, room 3, room 4. That's all we need. Next, we're going to work on, go up a level. Let's do the handout real quick. So when they get to this part where the floor changes to this colorful mosaic, this is what they see. Now, in the download, they actually gave us a printer-friendly, ready-to-go handout. So we're covered there. So what I'm going to do, this isn't all the way always the case. This is a really well-designed one-shot that gives you a lot to work with. So I'm just going to put that in my handout folder for now. Okay. We're covered on our handout. We've done our tokens. Let's get our stat blocks real quick. Stat blocks is just like getting, it's just like getting your tokens. In this case, I'm going to go to all, not images, and I'm just Googling for these stat blocks. So Roll20 or D&D Beyond or 5e tools will show up with all the standard monsters. Here's a stat block for our giant centipede. Snipping tool, new, grab this whole thing, save, and I'll stick it in my stat block folder. Giant centipede. Let's look at that. Stat blocks, there we go. And we'll do that again for, might as well just use this website here, giant rat. Okay, here's his stat block, new, snip. You don't have to do all this necessarily, but I find it useful to have these in Astral. If you're the type that has Astral on one desktop or on one screen, and then maybe you have all these in a Word document, or you just have them all pulled up on the web, that's fine. Giant rat. We're good to go there. And then for the boss, we will go back to our PDF. Here at the end, snip, grab that whole stat block, Inferno spider. Okay. So we should be covered for all our stat blocks now. Lastly, maps. Again, one of the nice things of having a really well-prepared one-shot, really high-quality writing and preparation and helps for the DM is they included a standalone map. Could be that you have to go and create a map from scratch with other one-shots that you're working on, but this one provides it for you. So I'm just going to stick that in the maps directory. And we should be good to go now. So now I'm going to swap over to Astral. This is my Astral homepage. You can see here listed a whole bunch of games. This is, I use this quite a lot. Lost Minds of Phandelver, Stormlord's Wrath. All of these are games that I created from scratch, except for this one, this Prophecy of the War Angel. That's one that I've been a player in, and so it gets listed along with all the other games. But you can see I've used Astral quite a bit. I'm going to, and you can also see I've already got a Most Potent Brew game listed here. So I'm going to create a new one just so you can see how this all works. So create new from scratch. We'll call this a Most Potent Brew 2. And we're going to pick 5e or 5th edition. There we go. Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Create game. I'm going to skip the step for inviting friends because I'm just setting it up in Astral for the time being, and then I can invite friends later. Start playing. Once you get into Astral, this page is given to you. This is the landing page where everybody shows up when they first join the game. Let's start off with our map. I'm going to hit Add New Map, Create Blank, and then I'm going to hit E. E is a hotkey for opening up the editor. There's also a pencil button somewhere around here, but I've used this enough that I just know the hotkeys. So the letter E opens up the map in editor mode. We will call this the, I don't know, give it a name, beer cellar. And then we're going to upload assets. Click Maps. Now, this is a PDF, which they do not accept here. So now I've actually got to go fix that. So we'll go into Maps, open up our PDF, cancel out of that. Again, Snipping Tool, new. I'm going to even grab just a little bit of just what I need. Done. Save. Maps folder. Beer, not bear, beer cellar. Go back to Astral and we feed it our PNG. Give it a second to load. Now it's going to pop up over in our assets. I'm going to drag that in, and now it is here in my map. Now I'm not quite done yet. I notice how it keeps snapping to grid like this. That can be rather irritating. So one thing you want to know about in the map editor is this, they call it a hamburger menu, or this these 3 bars. These give you some hotkeys. I'm going to turn off enable grid snapping. That's Control D. Eventually you do this enough that you just remember all the hotkeys. So Control H and Control D are pretty useful to know. And now you notice it doesn't snap anymore. I'm not going to bother with the whole grid. I'm just going to come up here and say turn off the grid, and I'm just going to use the grid that's part of my my picture. And because I've turned off snapping to grid, then the characters' tokens aren't going to snap into places. They'll be able to move a little bit more freely, and that's okay. The other thing that I'm going to do, because I think it's pretty cool, is set up some lighting. So they have this little pen tool here where you can define areas where characters should not be able to see through. So like walls. And you can see my mouse turned into this pen. So I'm going to go click, click, and I'm just going to start clicking around on all these joints. and then I will hit escape if I don't want my next to click to draw another blue line. And then I'm going to click here, here, here. Notice I am clicking through doors. I'll show you why that is in a second. This doesn't have to be terribly exact. Click, click, click. Let's do this door and this wall here. I'm going to turn this off so I can pan up. Whoops. Once you get your map in place, it does help to select the map and then lock the layer with this padlock down here. So now I can move the map without moving the picture. And then let's do this, the walls of this room here, and we're done. Okay, now the reason I clicked through the doors as if they were walls is because I can then click this door tool, and I can click on the doors and see that white line with the, it's kind of hard to see on this map because we have a white background, but see it kind of made this a door. And it's defining that door because of I clicked here and here to make that like a wall. And this tool is basically saying make this wall a door. Same thing here. I could do that, except for in this case, in this map, there is no door. It's just an opening in the wall. Up here, you see there's icons here. If we click them, then they become real. Oh, that is not a door. And that is not either. There we go. Found the right spot. So we have a door there, a door there. Turn off my door tool. We might put a door here if we like, but frankly, I don't want characters like roaming around outside of the map in this case, because it's a cellar. They're supposed to be underground. Once we're all done with this, we hit Save Map. Hit E to jump back out of the editor. You can see we have a little preview here. And we can get to work making our characters. So I'm going to click over to the character screen. Again, I'm using a very minimalist set of Astral features here. I'm going to do create new character, 5e character template. I'm going to pick sheetless quick start template, because I really don't care about the sheets, because I have those screenshots, those stat blocks, and these are all the monsters. So let's start with our giant rats here. Our giant rats should not look like blacksmiths, so we will go into the config menu, change the name, giant rat, click on the avatar, upload asset, click this, navigate into our tokens folder, giant rat. And sometimes this doesn't update automatically. Don't worry if you see this. Just in fact, we can just close out of this, but you can see that it updated there. There's our snippet that we stole from Google for our token. I'm going to go back into it though, and I'm going to click Build Character, Pages. I'm going to delete this template page that they put in there. Are you sure? Yes. Add page, stat blocks, giant rat, open. It takes a moment to get in there, but once it does, you can click out of here, and now I have all of the giant rat information I need here as a picture. So, you know, you can spend the time to fill out all the stats for the giant rat. There are some that I will still do that through my experience of running lots of games. There are some things that I do feel are, some bits of automation that I feel are useful. So like having the hit points be accurate instead of just being the default 10. I'm going to give him 7 hit points. And then we'll come into, I do fill out the major stats here because I find that if I do that, then this initiative roll button will work because it'll have his dexterity in there. So we'll do 7, 15, 11, 2, 10, and a 4. And beyond that, I don't fill out anything else. Exit, close, and I have my giant rat with 7 hit points here. And the cool thing about this is I can roll initiative, and it will use his dexterity to generate this. And when the characters are going into combat, if they want to roll physical dice and just tell me what the number is, that's fine. But when you're in a situation where you've got 15 monsters on the map, manually entering in initiative rolls gets kind of irritating. So at least for the monsters, I just set it up so I can just click through all the monsters and hit the 1 key to hit this initiative roll macro that they set up by default, and that populates everything in the initiative tracker. So in this case, in this room, the number of giant rats they fight can vary depending on how many people are in the party, how many players you have. It could be that you just have 3 or 4 giant rats that they fight for 2 players, or it could be that maybe you've got a party of 6. I like to have an excess of backup monsters here. So, and I just stick them all in here, and I'll move them around the room, maybe hide some behind the barrels or something as needed. But, they're all here. And then I go through and click them all. I'm holding the control key to click multiples. And then I say hide characters. And then when they come in, when they first discover rats, then I will go through and click different ones and say show. You saw 3 rats. Ta-da, there they are. And battle commences. But as far as prepping as a DM, I now have 6 giant rats here at my disposal. So that's how we set up monsters. But let's go ahead and do the giant spider real quick, just so you can see this again. Sheetless. We're going to click them, click the cog. Giant Inferno spider. Click the avatar, upload asset, tokens, giant Inferno spider. Don't worry about this not previewing properly. I'm going to go character builder or build character, pages, delete the default, add page, stat blocks, and Inferno spider. Once that loads in, click down here and grab these numbers here. 14, 14, 12, 2, 11, and 4. Okay, now my initiative roll is going to work. And he has 32 hit points. Exit. There's the whole stat block. I can see his actions and everything like that. And this is, I can't click on any of this. This is just a picture. But that's all I need, really. And then I'm going to close out of this. Now I have myself a giant Inferno spider. It looks like his HP didn't set right. Let's fix that. 32. Click out of this. Okay, we're good to go. In this case, the giant Inferno spiders is when the characters come into this room, he's like hiding up on the ceiling, and so for a good portion of this combat, he stays hidden, and yet I still roll for attacks, like he's throwing flaming spider webs at the characters from above. And until they kind of figure out where this giant Inferno spider is and see him, then I keep them hidden. But that's a mechanic that you can kind of work with at game time. And then lastly, we'll do it for the giant centipedes as well. There's only one giant Inferno spider, so we'll not duplicate him. But create new character, sheetless. Throw them up here. Giant centipede. Token. Click our token picture there. We'll do build character, pages, delete. All right, so I've gone ahead and created my giant centipedes. I hid them because they're supposed to be hiding inside the well. The characters don't see them as soon as they're walking into this room, but once they look inside the well, then I do this monologue where I say giant centipedes lurch out of the well and grab a character, and then they're immediately grappled or something, and then combat starts. And I'm able to easily click through each of these guys and hit the one key for their initiative roll, and they all get added to the initiative tracker. Do initiative for the rest of the party, and off you go into battle. All right, so at this point, we have everyone set up in all the monsters are set up in the map. We have the map set up, we have the doors, we have the walls. I want to show you where the payoff is for setting up all the doors and walls on a map. In order to do that, we need to enable what's under the weather menu. The dynamic lighting menu. Enable dynamic lighting. Now, I have the giant infernal spider selected in this room, and you notice that he can only see what's in this room. If I click on the door, now this spider, let me click show so you can see what I'm talking about here. Show character. Okay, so this is what the spider can see. And this goes for the player tokens as well. Now, because we set up those walls everywhere, you can see he can see into this room. Once he comes in, then his visibility of the previous room is limited. Another cool feature is if you can turn on enable fog of war, and now it shows like this dimmed area. This spider can't see there anymore, but he just recently saw what was there, and so he remembers what was there. And so this is these are some cool features. I don't know why he just jumped through that wall, but these are some cool features of Astral here. Let's close that door. Open this door, click on the spider. Now he can see through here, and you can kind of check your wall settings. And so it looks like I missed a spot there somewhere. That's not too bad. I can fix it if I want to, I guess. He comes in here, he sees this room. Now, because it looks like I'm having some issues here with this wall here, and it's because I created a wall like I was going to make a door, and then I changed my mind about making that a door. So I'm going to click E, and I'll make it a door. And I'll click E again to get back out of the editor, and I'm just going to leave it open. So now everything's working just fine. Now I mentioned earlier, if we come through here, I mentioned earlier that this whole room is more or less optional, and you can, if the game is running slow, cut it out. What you can do is hit, so maybe the players have gone through, they fought all the rats, and maybe it just took forever, and it was like a near TPK experience for them. Maybe they went back upstairs up to the ground floor and decided to take a rest. If you're feeling like, given your amount of playtime, it's not going to work out to do all this content, you can come in here, hit the E key, go into the editor, click the door button, and make this not a door anymore. Click the door button again. Now it's just a wall, right? So then if I come back in here and I click my spider, there's no door at the end of this wall. He can't see anything. There's just nothing. It's the end of the hallway. So this is a nice little trick for managing time, at least for this particular dungeon. Let's put the spider back in his room. Close the door. E key. Oh no, we don't need to go into the editor. We're good to go. I'll just deselect the spider, and now we can see the whole map. Okay, so we have set up the map. We set up dynamic lighting. We set up the doors. We set up the all the monsters. We set up their stat blocks. We automated the initiative rolls to a degree. Lastly, we need to talk about this trap puzzle here. Now, all you have to do, what you do here is you go to Documents and Handouts, and you're going to do Upload a Compendium. Click into your handouts and pick this PDF. Now notice that this particular upload, it can take a JPEG, but it also can take a PDF, unlike all the other uploads. So we don't need to necessarily mess with making this PDF a JPEG. In this case, we can just take the stock PDF right out of the DM's Guild download and upload it. So once you've uploaded it, it will show up here. You can see a little preview of it, and then you drag it up into your Documents and Handouts, and when you hover over it, you have another hamburger menu here that you can click on, and at the time that they reach this, then you can come over here, click on this, say share with players, and then direct them to look at their handouts, and they will be able to click on it and bring it up in this little PDF viewer, and then off you go. You can explain this is what they see, but then you can provide the background text describing this mosaic corridor, and all of that is provided in the DM's Guild PDF for DMs. And you can explain how how this works, and maybe the trap elements of this. I'm not going to spoil everything for you. I've spoiled a lot of this whole one shot, but there's some reading for you to do still. Anyways, once you've done that, you're done. You have your map, your characters, everything's good to go. You can exit out of this, exit session. This is our game page here. I guess if you wanted to, you could go and find yourself like a banner for your game. This is kind of optional. But once you go here, you go to players and go search for, look for a friend and say send invitation. and then they will be able to join your game, and you're good to go. So I hope this helps you get started with Astral. It can be a bit of a learning curve. There's a lot more to Astral that I didn't show here. I just showed the parts that I use. And again, I run games a lot, and so I go for the quick and dirty / most effective. There's stuff that I do that you could get away with not doing as well, but I have found things that work best for me and the way that I DM, and so I make Astral support those the best they can. So anyways, if you have any questions or want to come hang out with us, you're welcome to drop into the Newbie Sessions or D&D Newbie Sessions Discord. I'm one of the DMs / moderators in there, and I know we have lots of other very helpful DMs, experienced DMs, and newbie DMs in there that you can talk to and ping ideas off of, and get started.